welcome to episode 23 of the GuildMag podcast. As always, it's me and Casey joining you for another round of epic Guild Wars 2 news and discussion. Say hi, Casey.
Epic!
Oh, she did it. She unmuted her microphone.
I'm so proud of myself. Can I get a gold star on my chart now?
Yeah, yes.
I've got like a poster that says times Casey has unmuted her mic in the correct situation. There's like a single star there.
We actually, you know what? We genuinely should do that and just like see by the end of the year like how many stars you've got.
Oh yeah, and then like I have to do a punishment for each how many times there's a star there, and the viewers can decide. That's a cool idea.
So it's been a bit of a slow news week this week. So we're cobbling together what we can as usual.
Honestly, I trawled through the dumpsters of Reddit to get all this information, guys. So I hope it's at least interesting, and that we're not just boring you guys.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about April Fools, and Casey's got an SAB rant. Hopefully not too long lined up, but we'll try.
I told you I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be negative, and you're like, nope. For the sake of entertainment, you're gonna do it.
Yeah. So we're also going to talk about some blog posts. There's a POI live stream about story steps and whatnot, which unfortunately I didn't get a chance to watch. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I had the chance to read the overview notes, the dot points and everything.
I'm sure chat will be able to fill us in on that one. So we're just going to kind of take it easy this week. Talk what we can.
First of all, how was your April Fools? Did anything happen to you?
You know what? Nothing happened to me. It was so I was expecting stuff to happen to me, but nothing. Did anything happen to you?
No, I think the most funniest thing I saw was the wooden potatoes strips on camera, and because he never shows his face, and it's a big thing for all his viewers, and I'm like, I know what this is immediately, and he's just him peeling a potato. That was probably the only thing that happened for me, and of course the Guild Wars April Fools, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Guild Wars April Fools, then let's.
Oh, did I just segue awesomely and not take advantage of it?
You did.
Damn it. So yes, the Guild Wars April Fools. Oh, and my husband has chosen a wonderful time to come home from his camp. He was away for a couple of days. Hello, husband.
Hello,
wife. Yeah. So, the Guild Wars April Fools was pretty unique. It wasn't what anyone was expecting, and it was something that a lot of people either liked or a lot of people didn't like. I should have rephrased that better. So a lot of people liked it or they hated it. So in this April Fools was aeroplanes where the characters held out their arms constantly, and there was sound effect noises and that sort of stuff. And there was a 50%, like, because on Tumblr a lot of people really liked it and they made videos and things of it and they were amusing. But if you're like me who didn't find it completely amusing, you probably didn't log in like I didn't. Did you?
Well, you see, I chose that day of all days to install a new processor and like motherboard and stuff on my computer. So like by the time I'd finished and like reinstalled Guild Wars, it was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I just couldn't be bothered logging in by that point. So I didn't get to play it either, unfortunately.
I don't feel like we missed much. You cursorily look at the videos on YouTube, and you've pretty much got it all, don't you?
It's historically I've always had kind of a bad relationship with April Fools and Guild Wars. I've always thought they looked really cool, but never cool enough for me to log in and like bother with them.
Yeah.
So I'm actually trying to think if in my entire time of playing Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1 I've ever logged in an April Fools, and I'm struggling to think if I have. But yeah, it was nice.
I quite liked last year's the bobblehead because that kind of brought this new thing like the bobblehead laboratory and stuff like that, and that was something I feel like that was a lot more, I don't know, special than just the characters' arms being held out.
We could get an airplane lab.
What was
could
that?
Get an airplane laboratory in the gem stores soon.
I think the funniest thing I saw was a video of Sylvari's dancing, but their arms fixed like this, and it's played along to the song of "I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts," and it fits so well, like because the arms, like with the Sylvari dancing, kind of makes it look really Indian, but when you take away the arms, it just kind of looks like a tap dance almost, and it is the best thing ever, and I laughed so hard. But looking at our chat, it seems like Angel says, yeah, it was 50-50 on the whole Guild Wars 2 April Fools. TK says, I agree with Casey, last year's was much better. And Obi says, I feel like a lot of people just got way too angry about it than necessary. And before earlier, Dari Shan was saying his RP friends really hated it. So I don't know why you would get angry about it.
No, I mean, it's only for a day. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. People.
I mean, if you...
Go on.
Sorry, it's the lag. If you like got one, you can only log in one day of the year, and you decide you want to take pictures of your character that day, I guess maybe there's a little bit of warrant for mild frustration, but certainly not anger. Some people just don't like jokes, and that's fine. Just don't need to get angry about it.
So speaking of getting angry, this is a good segue.
Oh my god, we're on fire!
We're so good today.
The SAB SAB data mined model came out. Actually, I got this from my friend. We've promised each other that we would play SAB together because we played SAB together before, and we literally did tribulation mode together, and we went hysterical. It was like I was drunk without alcohol, and he sent me this message on thing going, oh my god, look at this, and that shaman actually waited until April 2nd to release this data mined SAB model. It looks like SAB, it's not confirmed, but it's this model that looks very much like it belongs in the SAB universe. It's like a centipede, millipede sort of thing, which is really cool. So it seems like they're working on the SAB stuff. If you watch like a Potatoes video, he said that normally it was like a couple months we started seeing data mine stuff, and then the SAB came out, so it could be coming out in a couple months. This is where my rant comes in. And guys, put in your opinions about this in the thing so we can read your opinions after my rant. But I love it, and I'm going to preface this with I love ANET. I don't do a show on Guild Wars 2 every week because I freaking hate the game. I do it because I adore the game and I play it every week, that sort of thing. So I'm going to preface it with that. But why aren't they giving us information about the freaking SAB? Because seriously, I dropped 100 gems on a coin for a game that now I cannot play, and I've got useless content sitting in my bank. I think I've got a whole freaking tab worth of SAB stuff, and if I could just know if that has a future or not, that'd be great. And why do you need to keep quiet about it? Why can't you let us in the development cycle? Because that would make me so happy to know that there is a SAB game coming out. Like, what do you get other than my sad frustration from keeping the information away from us?
Your voice is just getting higher and higher in pitch. Like, pretty soon, no one will be able to hear it apart from cats.
The dogs will go crazy.
Wow, that is intense.
That was honest, like in a rage inside, like. I just don't understand. Laska Winter says the squeaks are real.
I feel like you raged for me as well. Like, I feel like I don't even need to say anything anymore.
I rarely ever rage like that. I just don't understand why they're keeping so quiet about it. And I would love to get a little information and know what's going on, just so even if just so that all the speculation doesn't have to go on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'd love to just know if it has a future or not. I mean, sure, I think we will see it at some point. I think it's too good for it to never come back again. I guess it's just a question of when they want to do it. I mean, I suppose they could do like another back to school SAB thing maybe in September, but that probably too soon after Heart of Thorns, assuming it comes out in like late August.
I'm 100% sure they're bringing it back at some point. I absolutely hate having to speculate. Like, this is the second April where we've gone, are they bringing it back? Like that. And then nothing, quiet. No one will speak about it. And I think that I believe that they're bringing it back in some awesome, cool way. That's why they have to be quiet about it. But I hate that I have to speculate because I could be entirely wrong. I could be completely wrong about this whole thing, and they're not working on SAB at the moment, and I would just like to know if they're not working at SAB at the moment. That would be fantastic. Okay. Whew. I feel like I've exercised whatever demon is inside of me now. I feel like it can go on for another year without SAB. There might be some curled up fetal crying. Not crawled up, curled up fetal crying, but you know, I'll work through it.
I just love the note you left in it. It's like so in the notes Casey wrote, honestly stop me because I have a major bitch session stewing inside like the world's nastiest casserole. Like, where does that even come from? I
don't know. I was just so angry and trying to type out my anger in capitals. I told him not to let me rage. Obi asked, I hope that was therapeutic. It was therapeutic. I actually feel so much better, guys. I'm sorry if I scared some of you. I'm not normally like this. This is one thing.
Alright then, so let's move on to something a bit less rage-inducing.
Yes.
So the new Heart of Thorns blog post from ArenaNet, kind of talking about, I suppose, gameplay and what to expect from Heart of Thorns a little bit more, which was kind of interesting. So, I mean, a lot of it, I guess, was stuff we already knew, but I suppose we haven't really talked about on the show before. So some things we're just going to pull some stuff out from the blog post that we found interesting. So the first thing is day and night cycles that affect the map. So the example they gave was in the day you fight obviously the Wyvern, and then in the night you fight more sort of Mordrum based things, which I think is really cool and a really cool way to kind of keep it fresh and exciting.
I imagine it would be very much like the Dust Storm in Top Dry. But I just hope that there'll be a lot. I love Dry Top? Top Dry.
Dry Top. You've said Top Dry for like the last 6 months. And I've just sat here like...
comment about it.
I've just been sat here like, yeah, it's Top Dry. I'll go with that. Like...
Is that like when you called the Venatori... The
Ventari Venatari.
Yeah, so I imagine it would be like that, which is very cool, and I really like to see this night-day cycle come into play. Also, this is really cool because it would create actually some sort of feeling of progression and aliveness in the world. I just made up my own word. Vitality in the world, I guess, because... you know, you can see the changes from night to day and things change from night to day, and it'll kind of create this awesome feeling, I reckon. So I'm really happy about that. I think that's a really cool thing, and it kind of creates this, instead of a dust storm, it's night and day, and so, you know, so it's going to be the same sort of mechanic, I reckon.
Yeah, and I think they can do a lot with the night cycle to make it, because the whole idea about Verdant Brink, the first bit, is like building up your defenses during the day and then essentially trying to survive the night assault. So it feels like a really sort of dynamic, fun map. I think it really adds another element to it rather than it just being like it sounds like the event chain is going to be more impactful than we've seen before, which I really like, and it's just more engaging.
There's something really interesting about this that was in Silver Waste as well. It is kind of pushed towards the harder content is kind of longer term content. For example, if you turn up in Kershaw, do a couple events and you can leave, like, no worries. But in Silver Waste, it's a lot better to stick around for a longer time and do it, you know, for like an hour. And I imagine because this is harder level content, that this would be the same sort of thing where it's not just you can just rock up for 15 minutes and leave and feel satisfied. It's something that you're going to have to push towards. And one thing I absolutely loved, thing I do really like, is commanders who stay on for a long time and help coordinate events. For example, just how awesome would it be if you have a commander that helps coordinate Verdant Brinks from day to night, you know, and then stays around for a long time. I love that sort of working together, and you can feel that pulse of the community through, you know, people working together to organize stuff. It's a little bit harder on the Silver Waste maps because there's multiple commanders, and the best, like, sometimes I've seen maps work fantastically together where you recognize this is the commander of the yellow, this is commander of the red, and then sometimes I've seen it where like 4 people are just fighting, like for, you know, like they're not working together, they're just fighting for, you know, airtime, you know, that sort of thing. So it could go different ways. And people make really good points in the show notes. I didn't even think about this. TK and Alaska Winter mentioned the day-night rune sets would be super interesting. So yeah, that would be cool.
It kind of gives them more of a use than just outside dungeons that are set to nighttime, like night weapon sigils. So it would be quite interesting having to like being able to like swap out your sigils and weapons and stuff for depending on what part of the event you're in.
Well, they did say it's going to be harder content. Like this is going to be closer to the end game, so that would make sense.
Pooed a little when your cat jumped up beside you. I just saw like a tail like appear outside your ear. I was like,
she's not very happy. Like that's a death glare because it is feed time and no one's feeding her.
So another thing that's quite interesting, a quote I pulled out from the blog post is. Max out your gliding mastery to discover previously unavailable areas and gameplay challenges. And this is something I hadn't thought about before, is actually being able to use that mastery to go to areas that you wouldn't be able to get to otherwise. I think that's quite cool as well. It definitely adds to like a sense of progression rather than just like getting the masteries and going, oh, I can glide now, which I suppose could wear off after a while. Being able to actually use it to get to content that you can't otherwise is a really good idea, in my opinion.
It's a very funny incentive way to play. For example, if you're playing with friends and your friends can all glide to the top of the thing and you can't, it's an incentive for gameplay. It's like, oh, well, I got left out of this content. I'm seen as a, as, like they got to just see this cool thing and I didn't get to see this cool thing. I'm going to invest more time in it so that, like it's a kind of, not manipulation, but, a really cool way to encourage people to play more and with friends and that sort of thing.
I suppose it sucks to be that person that can't go where the rest of your friends is that...
Yeah.
Would there
but
be
it's incentive to play more of the mastery system and to grind for that
guess.
Content.
I mean, I suppose in that sense, though, the content that you access can't be too, like... shouldn't be like the most rewarding content or anything like that, because if say you're playing in like a guild or something, or your guild glides to wherever and you're just left out, it kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I suppose it's not kind of
stratification, like it keeps people apart.
No, it's like it's not kind of keeping to the whole MMO aspect in the sense of like play together, play as a group, do what you want kind of thing.
That's true, but I really see it no different from map exploration. Like you've worked hard to explore your map, so you can just waypoint to where the rest of your guild is. Where if someone who doesn't explore the map, they have to slowly run, and I suppose they can still get there in the end. But
it sounds to me like either you glide there or you don't get there at all. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think generally it does sound really cool, and it's a nice way to make masteries relevant. Which I think they've definitely thought a lot about.
I admit that there is some points that like make you go but I think the benefits, like the coolness of having a glider to get to these places that you haven't been to before, is just going to be so awesome. And I wonder if there's like going to be jumping puzzles that you can jump with, or it can be made made easier with the gliding, you know, like if you can't jump there, you spend all that effort into getting the glider and then you can glide up there a little bit easier or something like that.
Yeah. So TK in chat goes, I watched a boss fight that had people using the gliders to recover after getting knocked off a platform, talking about the wyvern fight here. If you don't have the mastery on it, you might not be able to do the fight. It's actually a good point. Because to actually get down to the boss platform, you need to glide onto it. I'm not actually sure if you can get there without having a glider, because when I played it, I obviously had the glider and just glided onto it.
Yeah, but they talked about unlocking content through mastery systems, so it's probably unlikely because that's what they said. They said you won't be able to fight bosses until you have the tools necessary to defeat them. So it is a way to keep content back, you know, until you get the masteries.
That said, I think you only needed like the first point in your glider mastery to be able to get down there, so it wasn't like a big gate to get down to that one, but I expect maybe other bosses or other content to have like require you to be able to glide for like an extended period of time before you can get there. But yeah, so that's interesting. So you've got an interesting sentence you wanted to pull out. Is this from the blog post? Because I didn't read it in there. Okay,
it's one of them. This sentence is just in the blog point, and then I've added some information from the point of interest talk. So the sentence in the blog post was, victory against the jungle dragon requires the iron will and supreme skill of a born leader. So this is a really interesting point because it kind of brings up the point of Traherne's missing, the pact is scattered. So obviously, does the pack still exist? Like you're the commander, and the point of interest. Like this is the questions I had in my head. And the point of interest talk said you are the pact commander, and you need to make decisions. You outrank almost everyone, and that was kind of like, oh, okay, sort of moment to me, because originally I was like, is the pack still even existing? Like they were under Traherne. Wouldn't everyone just be like, maybe Traherne's the jungle dragon, like lose faith in the pact completely, basically, and they're scattered and all that sort of things, and also, how would this work in the thing? Like, is the pact still a military organization? Like, as we go through Verdant Brink, you know, they're still there, or is that going to continue through all the maps? Or I was just very confused about the whole lore of the situation, basically. And this whole, you are the pact commander and you need to make decisions, you outrank almost everyone. Is this going to persist when you're in the maps, like Verdant Brink? When you talk to people, they obviously look at you like your commander, like they do in the Silver Wastes. I think they're just going to have to forget that some people might not have done the personal story and might not be the pact commander, that sort of stuff. And also, what are they going to do? Like, there's this whole thing in the Tumblr, especially in the Tumblr community, about this mention from one of the developers, I can't remember, that says Sylvari who get too close to Mordramoth will turn. And people were like, well, I guess no one's going to be playing Sylvari then, you know, because how can you... And I think through the personal story, they'll actually find a way to protect the Sylvari, because they won't just stop Sylvari going into the fight. But if your pact leader is Sylvari, you know, why would anyone ever follow you? You know, you're the reason those pack ships are destroyed and everyone died, you know. Why would anyone ever trust you again? So I was really like, my head is like, wow, like what's going on? What's going to happen? I don't understand. Someone help me figure this out. No, but I can't wait to see how they're going to deal with it, because I think that's really cool.
Yeah. One interesting point you brought up earlier was the fact that you said you're the commander and you need to make decisions. Is this going to extend? Because obviously we know that you can make decisions in the story instances because they're bringing back the branching things. But are you going to be able to make decisions kind of in the open world about what way to go with events and things as well? Because in the blog post they mentioned, what's that Sylvari commander's name? Laranthe? Is that his name? I'm bringing it up. I'm control F'ing it.
From the Vigil?
Yeah, Laranthe. That's his name. The guy in the story instance, you have to either agree with him to go and rescue, I think it's rescue Silvari, or you disagree and you go and do something else. And he's also in the open world in Verdant Brink, like helping you push against Mordrum and then fighting back and that kind of thing. And it says in the blog post, it basically talks about how he'll help in the open world with his events, and then he goes, it's up to players to decide whether they want Loranthe's help. So that kind of suggests that you could choose which way to go with events as well, like which sort of path to take. Which I think is quite interesting.
That would be very cool.
Events feel relatively linear. I mean, yeah, they've got like a success and fail conditions, but it's kind of like you succeed in one way only, essentially. It'd be cool if like there were like multiple success conditions.
That just breeds so much trouble, because like there will always be one path that's easier than the other path, and then there will be community fighting and stuff like that, and that would be such a cool thing, as long as they're equal path, you know, like if you can choose that they're all equal and not, you know, like people going, oh, you're so dumb, you know, why did you choose path 3, because path 3 is the hardest, and then everyone wipes or something like that. So that was a really cool idea. I really hope that is, and they actually, like, this is later on in the show, we're going to talk about the personal story, and they do actually mention in the personal story there'll be a lot more branching, so it'd be cool if they carry this over, like you said, to the open world. So sorry, go on.
No, you go on.
So anyone who watches my Lauren Explores, like a lot of you guys here, absolutely lovely, you know that I love her Hylake, not as much as I love Script, but I love them. And there is a picture. They didn't say anything about the new Hylake in the blog post, so they just put a picture there. And the picture is hilarious. I defy anyone who read the blog post and then saw this picture of the Hylake and didn't let out this like sort of laugh, you know, like what is that sort of laugh? So the new Hylake are more have got a different design from the rest of the Hylake, which is awesome because they're in such different biomes. They should be different, and that is so cool. And they've got like big bulbousy red eyes, a different kind of armor, leather armor, and they still look Hylake-y, but they're like a different breed. And Angel points out that these wood frogs are the Idstel, which are the ones we previously talked about. There's a mastery system relating to them, so it's their cities that we will be exploring and everything like that. So I'm super excited for them. They look very funny, but I'm sure they'll grow on me very quickly. And you know what would make me so happy is if they have a different accent to the other Hylakes, because they're so different. They're different tribes. They've been completely cut off from the rest of Tyria in the Maguma jungle. They've had to fight Mordrum for such a long time. The fact that they're still alive, you know, is a big thing. If they could have a different accent and a little bit of different culture, that would be just so cool. I'm really feeling it at the moment.
I kind of hate the look of these ones. I'm gonna say it, like they're just a bit too weird for me. Like, I first saw it and I was like, is that like a bobblehead Hylake? Like,
it's one of those things that I think that they actually base them off real frog designs, and when frogs are standing upwards, their heads it doesn't look right because they're not on all fours, you know, but because they're standing upright. And I really think that it's a case of that real life is stranger than fiction, and like they've based it off these ones. The red glowing eyes is terrifying, I will admit that. But I think that they're very cool.
You know what? When I was younger, I used to live in a house. We had like a little pond, and I used to be a little frog in it, and he used to like jump on my hand and let me stroke him.
Oh, that is so sweet.
And don't know what happened to it, but he stayed for like a year and then he just left, and I didn't have a frog to stroke anymore.
Was that your first sense of like abandonment as a child? I just imagine little kitty Rowan sitting by the pool like, Everything will leave me eventually.
Thought I'd just add that into the discussion.
Yeah, but so they didn't say anything about the High Lake, they just added this picture, and I'm super excited about them. One thing that they did mention is there it will be the treetop jungles contrasted against gold cities, so the Exalted, I think that's what they were called, the Exalted will have lots of golden cities around, which is very cool. Yeah,
it's... I mean, I like that they look so different to the ones we know. Even if I don't personally like how they look, at least it's nice to see they're at least different, and there's been work put into like making them different.
It's the same as the Tengu. Like in the art book, some of them were more based on parrots, some of them were more based on eagles, and then some of them look really Tengu, like what we know, that sort of thing. And just the last little point. Sorry for hijacking your. Are you trying to remember? Add this?
Yeah, you're trying to remember. Did I write that?
I was sitting here going, I'm pretty sure I added that in the personal story restoration. So you just confused the hell out of me. But talking about personal story restoration, it's down here at the very last thing. Personal story restoration, there was a red post by one of the developers that was talking about they're going to pretty much restore the personal story back to its former glory. The personal story was actually butchered during a feature pack, and now they're bringing back the butchered parts and sewing them together into Frankenstein's monster.
Don't say that. It'll be perfect. It'll be wonderful.
No, the wonderful thing is that they're making changes to camera works, doing new voiceovers, rewriting, getting the characters to record lines again. There will be the return of the My Greatest Fear story arc, which I think is the one where we go into Abaddon's watery temple, is it? Or something like that.
Something like that. Me and personal story, I did it once, never did it again. So
yeah, I think since then they took out this thing explaining where we got the crate orb from, and then the crate orb like bing, like the magic MacGuffin appears and be like, this keeps away corruption, we must protect it, that sort of thing. So that's back. I'm personally, sorry Mike and everyone who's listening, I'm personally very happy about this. I think why take content out? If you go, the more content, the better, in my opinion. I'm really glad that the Greatest Fear story arc is coming back, and the re-recording of lines and camera work is going to be great. And it seems like they want to improve the presentation, so I imagine that they'll be adding new camera angles and things again. One of the examples that they had really cool presentation was during the Sylvari one, where you go and get the Calibold and you side with the Order of Whispers, is that you have to spike the guy who's currently got Calibold's drink, and you accidentally drink some of it and you start seeing crazy stuff, and there's a cutscene where like your camera pans up, like you're looking in the grass and you pan up and it's all wavy and it's all first person and looks fantastic. So hopefully they'll be adding a lot more cooler stuff like that, better camera angles and stuff into the story. And the biggest ding 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 thing that I thought was super cool is Victory or Death is now soloable. So you don't need to get a freaking party when you're like playing a single player experience and then the end thing is a group thing. That was just something that blew my mind. I didn't have any problems because I played it with a lot of friends when it first came out, so we were all experiencing it for new together. But I mean, if I was just playing with my husband, I had to go and pug 3 random people. And that's not a bad thing. They were fantastic. Off. Hang on, my cat is just...
I'll entertain them.
My cat, when she wants attention, she jumps on the printer and like makes the printer print 100 copies of blank paper. So I'm really glad that it's soloable. It's something that really needed to be done. Especially since it was the single player experience and all of a sudden you had to find a group. So I'm really happy. I think they're really heading on the right track with the personal story. So I'm quite happy
Yeah.
about that.
It's kind of interesting how they're going to make it soloable, because I don't want it to be too easy, because like if you do go in there with the group, because I went in there a couple of months ago with some guildies who wanted to do it for some unknown reason. And I hadn't done it basically since launch when I first completed it, and I forgot kind of. I thought that I could just kind of go in there and steamroll through it, but I went down a few times because I'd basically forgotten like all the mechanics and like
what you're meant to do.
Yeah, it's relatively difficult when you just go in there thinking, oh, it's like AC Path 1 sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
because there's so many turret sections, I know what you're talking about. I imagine for the turret sections they'll add NPCs who will just sit on turrets and you only have to do one turret. And for the bosses, I imagine that they'll just either take away how many hits you have to do or something like that. I don't see it as a massively bad thing, something that they can't do. I think that they really can do it if they put their mind to it.
Yeah. So that's all the story.
Yeah, so I'll move on to the other things that they mentioned about the personal story, which is the LA timeline issue with the personal story is being resolved. That is quotation marks, not because I don't believe them, but because I'm quoting someone. So at the moment, the environment rules from like when you go into LA and Tybalt's selling apples, it's in the ruined, when you do personal story, it's in the ruins of Liar's Arch. No one's there, everyone's dead. So it's kind of like a big moment where you're like, oh, well, this is kind of awkward. And a lot of people don't like that. Now that it seems like they're going to make those instances draw from old assets. So you go back to Lion's Arch that has been completely is back to normal as the way it was before, which is really cool. I think that is really awesome. One of the things I'm really worried about is how will they explain this change to new players, like new players who are just following the storyline. They see it's destroyed, they're like, oh, I wonder what happened here. Oh, well, I'll go and do my personal story. You get into your personal story and suddenly the whole scenery is completely different and you're sitting there going, what the hell just happened? So I think they need to think carefully about that, because that's just going to confuse people way more than just annoying some finicky people.
I completely agree. I saw people on Reddit, one person on Reddit, somebody showed a pic. I think there was a post of LA how it used to be, and there were comments on Reddit wow, I thought LA had always been how it was, because it obviously joined after the whole Scarlet thing. So they had no idea that it used to be how it was at launch and stuff.
I can just imagine they're going to come into this new instance and be like, why isn't it always like this is way better. So Mordramoth in chat run away says I saw that.
says that you probably have two instances of LA, people who didn't do it and people who did do it.
I think what's more likely is that maybe they'll get a cutscene explaining what happened to LA the first time they enter it.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't there a cutscene during the attack on LA? There was a cutscene that showed how it was destroyed, wasn't there? I think by Scarlet. So I think they maybe just play that.
Yeah, it's one of those difficult things where, people complain about ore not looking completely beautiful and and green stuff starting to grow because Traherne cleansed it. But then you got to think about new players who are coming there for the first time, If you cleanse it, they're like, oh, well, why bother doing the personal story? It was already cleansed, I can see that. So it's one of those difficult gameplay design decisions.
Yeah, Obi makes a good point. I think they're going to have to make sure it's clear that personal story takes place in the past, which I think is a really good point, because obviously we know that personal story I don't remember the calendar year in Guild Wars 2, but it takes place in a specific year, which we're obviously... It's assumed if you're playing it now, you're playing it in that year, whereas we're a couple of years ahead of it now. So I think it is important to kind of make that known to new players.
They need to implement a historian system, which is like, this historian explains things or gives out cutscenes, or like that's what they really need to do, is make a video explaining what's happened with Scarlet, because I was there when I did Scarlet. And I can barely remember what sort of stuff we did. Like, the attack on LA is like a foggy memory in the back of my mind. The Aether paths and stuff like that, only because Fractals does half of it do I remember it. They really need this historian system which kind of explains it to new characters. Or an awesome feature would be on the story screens. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. I'm talking out of my bottom. But yeah, go on.
So Obi makes the point: the year is shown in a story journal, but it's easy to miss. So I mean, yeah, especially like if you're just there just to click play this episode or whatever, like play it. It's I think it's show. I can't remember where it's shown now. It's shown. I know it's shown somewhere, but it is easy to miss. I completely agree. I've forgotten a lot of stuff we did during like the Living World seasons. I just about remember the attack on LA. Everything before that, no.
Yeah, like that first season of Living Story with this South Sun Cove seems like a distant memory at the moment. Like with the whole the first attack of the Karka on LA. Who remembers that? And like it's just a laggy, bloody mess in my mind, but it did happen, Yeah. TK makes an awesome point, which was those who left for a while had it in reverse. I was like, what the hell? I had to look up the cutscene on YouTube. A game should not make you look up information about the game on YouTube to understand what's going on.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting.
Mordremoth in our chat is like, I only remember being woken up by a stupid Sylvari with some kind of drill. But yeah, so they're saying they're going to resolve that, and that brings up a few issues. And the last thing we have to talk about is the point of interest talk. We've already covered some things about that. We actually did have quite a bit of talk about it, which was the branching decisions in the Heart of Thorns personal story. So the Heart of Thorns personal story, like you who's played the beta, you know that it's changed a lot. Like our characters, it's now a lot more cinematic apparently, and our characters now speak without having to be in a cutscene, and it feels a lot better. And one thing that they've returned is a branching decisions. And this is one of the things where I'm like, oh my god, I'm so excited. And another thing where I'm like, well, they hyped this up. Like, the original person's personal story was hyped up about branching story decisions. And we thought that it would be branching story decisions, but rather it felt like it was coming. Yeah.
I've just plugged out my headphones.
Oh, there we lost it. Oh, there we go. Welcome back. It felt like all the decisions were coming to a point rather than branching out. And I understand where that comes from. I mean, you can't just have infinite number of, like, there can't be a storyline where it ends where Mordorov takes over, or Zaitan takes over. But it would be cool if it could have a little bit more variety. And I'm really interested to see where they're taking the branching decisions. One of the things that came out of the point of interest talk was story missions will have choices that will encourage replayability. This is cool because I don't like how the first Living Story is not replayable. For example, you can trust the Sylvari commander or fire him, and this will have different consequences. You brought this up before. But the replayability means that with the same character, we can replay the thing and see which way it goes. That would be really cool if you play the Living Story on one character, finish it, and then like 6 months later you're like, you know what, I want to do it again because it's kind of fuzzy in my mind, and you do it again, but you choose different choices this time. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so talking about replayability is something I wanted to bring up. Is this like branching thing is going to be enough to keep players returning, like say 6 months down the line in Heart of Thorns? Because they've also obviously talked about new rewards and things, and hard content, and cool new maps with day-night cycles and different events and that kind of thing. But is it going to be enough in the long term, do we think? I mean, I think it largely depends on the rewards. that are available and how, I guess, fun the events are.
You're not a very big lore person. Oh, you are a big lore person, but like, if some people being able to replay the personal story is just something they do for fun. Like, I get bored of so many things in the game. Like, I want Sab to come back because I get bored of dungeoning, so I want to play Sab for a couple of weeks, you know. And personal story is one of those things where I'll be like, I'm bored of everything in the game. I want to replay it again just so I can experience the characters. For example, I did lore spotlights a couple of years back, and one of the spotlight was on Ellie, one of the characters that you meet, a little Azura that has the big announcer hologram that follows her around in awe, and you meet her really early in multiple races storyline, and then you meet her later again. And when I was trying to make information on her, I'm like, geez, I really want to replay the storyline just so I can see her again and talk to her again and just enjoy her presence again. I know that's silly for a character, but you know, just to enjoy that again. And for people like me, I know that this is not something that you would particularly enjoy, but for people like me, that really does have a lot of appeal to it.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person that likes to feel like they're working towards something, like in an MMO. It's like, I feel like if I don't have a goal, why am I really playing it? I could be playing something else. So I'd like to see sort of long-term goals in Heart of Thorns. Obviously, like they're doing the new legendaries, new precursor crafting, all that kind of thing. So I think there will be better replayability than we've got at the moment. This is kind of ArenaNet's chance to answer the age-old, does Guild Wars 2 have a proper end game sort of thing, which has been going on forever, and you know, everyone's got their own sort of opinion about it.
It really seems like they're posting this expansion as the end game. Like, here's the Guild Wars 1 experience, but really want to get into it. Here's the Heart of Thorns, you know, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I really do. I really hope it's successful, and it's kind of. I hope it ticks the boxes for like people like you who like, you know, the whole lore replayability story aspect, and then people like me who are there with who want like a goal to achieve. And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we wanna?
Not on my notes. No? It'd be fantastic if we could finish this a couple minutes early because my husband is home after like a camping trip and I haven't seen him for so long, and I haven't actually seen his face since he walked in the door, and I'd love to see his face.
All right, so I guess we'll end it there on that note then. So big thank you to everyone who's joined us in chat. We are of course live twitch.tv/GuildMag every Sunday at 10 AM GMT / 11 AM BST if you're in the UK. PDT, I have no idea, so you'll have to work that one out by yourself. Of course,
big thank you to all the people. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go on.
Big thank you to all the people that put up with my raging. I don't normally get so worked up, and I'm not a negative person. I love the game. Just I had some.
She had
something stewing deep inside me.
Nasty casserole she had to get. So yeah, big thank you everyone who's joined us. If you missed any of this show, it will be up on guildmag.com later or on our YouTube channel. All the information is there next to our faces. So yeah, we'll see you this time next week. Don't forget, Casey does her Lore and Explore live streams every Thursday at this time as well, so make sure you check them out. Are you going to be doing Brisbane Wildlands Part 4 next week? Or
if the internet lets me. Big apology to everyone last week. Rowan told me before the show I forgot to change the name of the show as well, so you guys must have been sitting there going, this isn't the GuildMag podcast. Big apology. My internet has just been terrible. I haven't been able to play very much because of skill lag. Anyone who's watching me saw I got like 10 seconds of skill lag. So in the end, I just started stuffing it with all sorts of lore that I could think of. Like someone mentioned something about Char in the chat. I'm like, here's all I know about the Char. And we have a great, awesome writer at GuildMag, Dranix. Is that how you say his name?
I just call him Drax.
Drax, I'm going to call him Drax too. Drax, we're going to be on first syllable name basis. But he's awesome. He comes to my shows and helps me so much with the lore, and he's just a bucket full of lore. So all of us together, working together to talk about the Char, we came up with tons of lore. It was fantastic and fun, even though the lag was just awful. Yeah. So hopefully next week will be better.
Yeah, I was gonna make a VOD on it for YouTube, but I got like 20 minutes in and I was like, is this VOD worthy? It's just lag at this point. So
yeah, no. It was one of those filler ones.
If you do want to watch it, it's on our Twitch past broadcast. It'll be there for the next 2 weeks until it gets deleted automatically. If you're desperate to watch Casey lag out for an hour. But yeah, hopefully she will be back with it properly this Thursday.
And we can finally finish Prison Wildlands. And like the last part is the most interesting bit with like the Henge of Denravi and all that interesting like hidden areas are down there and old ruins from Guild Wars 1 and I'm waiting to get to there, but no, I had no such luck.
So that's it for this week. Big thank you to everyone for watching. You of course follow us on Twitter or on Facebook. Information for GuildMag is there, and we are at AFKC or at ValiantGW on Twitter. So yeah, let us know what you think of the show. And yeah, I guess we'll see you in a week's time. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye.
Bye.